So, let's talk about generative AI, and I want you to forget the idea of some single complicated technology. Instead, think of it like a brand new toolkit, one that's already changing how we write, see, build, and even hear the world around us. Let's dive in.
Let's just start with a huge question. What if you could create almost anything just by describing it? That's really the core promise of all these tools we're going to look at, and honestly, the potential is just mind-boggling. And we're talking about generating pretty much everything, from the totally mundane to the absolutely magnificent. Just think about it for a second. A professional email, boom, drafted in seconds. A really complex piece of code, built from just a simple sentence. A photorealistic image that came straight from your imagination. Or even a whole song composed from a single idea. Okay, so to make sense of all this, we're going to break it down into four key areas. First, we'll start with the written word. Then we'll jump into the visual world of images. After that, we'll get logical with code. And finally, we're going to listen to what the future of audio sounds like. First up, let's get into the territory that's probably most familiar to a lot of us, text generation. This is all about conquering that dreaded blank page, with AI acting as a co-pilot for a truly incredible range of writing tasks. And when I say range, I mean it's staggering. In the professional world, AI is drafting things like vendor contracts and summarizing those impossibly long email chains. For creatives, it's like a brainstorming partner for ad campaigns. And on a personal level, people are using it for everything from composing letters to, and get this, helping to settle family debates. But it's not just about productivity. These tools are having a really profound human impact. This quote from a user, wow, it just brings it all home. Using AI to create a buffer in a painful, high-stress situation, it just goes to show you, this is becoming a tool for emotional management, not just task management. All right, let's shift gears and move from words to the visual world. In this section, we're talking about turning language, our prompts, directly into pixels and basically creating stunning images right out of our imagination. Now, creating images from text comes with this really fascinating trade-off. Think of it like this. On one hand, you have your sketch artists. Those are the autoaggressive models. They are incredibly fast, but the result is kind of like a rough outline. On the other hand, you have your master painters, the diffusion models. They create these breathtakingly realistic works of art, but man, are they slow. So the big question is, how do you get the speed of the sketch artist with the quality of the master painter? Well, some brilliant researchers from MIT and NVIDIA came up with a solution called HART, and it's a super clever hybrid approach. First, the speedy model sketches out that rough outline. Then, a much smaller, more efficient diffusion model comes in behind it and just fills in all the high-fidelity, realistic details. And the result? You get image quality that matches the best of the best, but it's generated about 9 times faster. And having that kind of speed just unlocks this explosion of creativity. People are using it for everything you see here. Designing blog images on the fly, storyboarding photo shoots, visualizing characters for their D&D campaigns, or even bringing scenes from a novel to life before a single chapter is written. It's wild. Okay, so we've covered the visual. Now let's get logical. Section 3 is all about generating code, and this is turning out to be one of the biggest revolutions in developer productivity, maybe ever. I want to start with just one number, 55%. Let that sink in for a second. In a field as complex as programming, what could possibly be improved by 55%? Speed. It's all about speed. A huge study by GitHub found that developers using an AI assistant called Copilot were writing code up to 55% faster. Now, this isn't some small improvement. This is a fundamental change to how a developer works. And think about what that really means. Products get to market way faster. Companies can experiment more, and the whole pace of innovation just accelerates. And look, this isn't just a theory in a lab. High-stakes industries are all over this. At Goldman Sachs, developers are automatically generating up to 40% of their code. A KPMG survey shows that nearly 1 in 5 companies are already using it, with a whole lot more testing it out. It's helping with the entire software lifecycle, from writing requirements to debugging code and generating tests. But again, here's what's so cool. It is not just for the big corporations. This quote from a hobbyist who makes game mods is so powerful. For them, AI code generation isn't just about being faster. It's about empowerment. It's letting them create things they just couldn't before, completely changing their creative landscape. All right, for our last stop on this tour, we're heading into what honestly feels like straight-up science fiction.
generating audio and composing music directly from a text prompt.
So, to really get what's happening now, you have to understand how it used to work. Early AI music was symbolic. Basically, it wrote sheet music for a computer, MIDI files. It gave instructions, but the actual sound it made depended on pre-existing digital instruments. The huge breakthrough now is that new models generate the actual sound wave itself. They create rich, authentic audio from scratch without needing a virtual synthesizer at all.
A really cutting-edge example is this thing called the Gen 1 Composer. Now, I know this diagram looks a little complex, but the idea is actually pretty simple. Over on the left, you give it a text prompt, something like a funk track with an acoustic guitar. That prompt gets fed into the core model in the middle, which is a lot like those diffusion models we saw for images. And then on the right, what comes out isn't just one sound. It's coherent, multi-track music with distinct instruments like bass, drums, and guitar. And the mission behind all this is really the key. The creators call it a framework designed to democratize music production. The whole goal is to tear down those deep technical barriers, music theory, complex software, and just make the act of creating music accessible to way, way more people. So, wow, after that journey through text, images, code, and sound, what does it all mean? Where are we actually headed in this new co-creative world? Well, I think the big takeaway is this. Generative AI isn't a replacement for human creativity. Not at all. It's becoming a fundamental partner. It's a tool that's boosting our productivity and expanding our creative reach in every single area we've talked about today. Which leaves us with this one final and really fascinating question to think about. If AI can handle the first draft of pretty much everything, an email, an image, a program, or a song, what does that mean for us? What's the uniquely human part now? What does true creativity even look like in a world where we might never have to start from a blank page again?